Donald Trump's road back to the White House might just be the greatest political comeback in history. After losing the 2020 election, facing a slew of legal challenges, and with many in the political establishment counting him out, he somehow managed to re-emerge victorious as the 47th President of the United States in 2024. This wasn't just a win, it was a masterclass in political strategy, messaging, and the power of relentless brand loyalty. So, how did he do it? Let's break down Trump's incredible comeback story. First, we have to look at the strategy Trump used to keep himself in the spotlight over the 4 years following his 2020 defeat. He knew that fading from public view would mean losing relevance, so he did the opposite. Trump held rallies, stayed active on social media, and even launched his own platform after being banned from major sites. Every move was calculated to keep his base engaged and to build momentum around the idea that he wasn't going anywhere. This visibility was key because even as his opponents tried to paint him as a spent force, he continued to rally millions around him, setting the stage for his comeback. Trump's messaging was another crucial factor. From day one, he emphasized that the 2020 election was, in his words, stolen, tapping into a powerful narrative of distrust towards the political establishment. For many, he positioned himself as the ultimate outsider, standing against what he painted as a corrupt system. He didn't back down on this message. By keeping it front and center, he harnessed the anger and frustration that many felt toward Washington politics, rallying them to his side and transforming himself into a symbol of resistance. One of the biggest assets Trump had was his ability to appeal directly to his audience through alternative media. With mainstream media often critical of him, Trump leaned heavily on platforms like Rumble, Telegram, and his own website to speak directly to his followers. By bypassing traditional media, he was able to control his narrative without the filter or critique of traditional journalists. This approach didn't just keep his base loyal, it made them feel as if they were a part of an exclusive club, united in their support for Trump and his message. Trump's comeback also owes a lot to his relentless ground game. His campaign team learned from the shortcomings of 2020, placing greater emphasis on grassroots organizing, especially in key battleground states. They poured resources into registering new voters, mobilizing volunteers, and ensuring his message reached every corner of states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. This approach helped him secure the electoral votes he needed, turning previously close states into solid wins. The ground game was a way to put his message directly into action, building a machine that his opponents underestimated. Another factor that played into Trump's comeback was the state of the country in the years leading up to the 2024 election. Rising inflation, international tensions, and domestic issues created a landscape of discontent. Trump's campaign was able to tap into this dissatisfaction, presenting him as the leader who would restore order and prosperity. His slogan for the 2024 campaign, "Save America," played into the fears and frustrations many felt had painted him as a return to strength and stability. His ability to read the room was key. He knew what issues resonated with the public and made sure his campaign addressed them head-on. For example, in areas affected by rising crime, Trump's message was one of law and order. In regions hit hard by economic troubles, he promised a return to the robust economy of his first term. Trump's messaging was hyper-targeted, allowing him to speak directly to the concerns of specific voter groups, a tactic that paid off when it came to winning votes. Internationally, Trump used his reputation as a tough negotiator to his advantage. He reminded voters of his record on trade deals and foreign policy, contrasting his approach with what he described as weakness from the current administration. This stance helped him win support among those who saw America's global standing as diminished and wanted a strong leader to restore it. His foreign policy approach, dubbed America First 2.0, resonated with voters who wanted a leader willing to take a firm stance on the world stage. When it came to debates and public appearances, Trump showed a more disciplined side of himself than in previous campaigns. His team worked hard on polishing his image, helping him focus on issues that mattered to undecided voters. He toned down the confrontational style that alienated some voters in the past, opting instead for a message of unity among his supporters. This disciplined approach helped him appear more presidential and won over voters who had been on the fence. And then there were the endorsements. Trump secured key endorsements from high-profile Republican leaders and conservative figures who had once been skeptical of his chances. This rallying of the Republican establishment around his campaign gave him a boost of legitimacy and added firepower, bringing more of the party base under his wing. From governors to senators, the Republican Party unified in a way that made it clear they were all in on Trump. His re-election wasn't just about winning back traditional Republicans. It was about reaching new voters. Trump's team worked to expand his base by targeting groups that were traditionally leaned Democrat. He made inroads with Latino and Black voters by focusing on economic policies and messaging that emphasized job creation and economic opportunity. This outreach broadened his coalition, creating a diverse base of supporters who saw him as a candidate fighting for their interests. As the election drew closer, Trump leaned into his strengths, mobilizing his supporters like never before. His rallies grew larger, his messaging sharper, and his presence more relentless. When Election Day came, Trump's base turned out in record numbers. They were motivated, organized, and ready to bring him back to the White House. Finally, the results came in. Trump not only won the key states that had eluded him in 2020, but managed to secure a decisive electoral victory, marking a comeback that many thought impossible. The message was clear. Donald Trump was back, and his supporters had rallied around him to make it happen. In the end, Donald Trump's road to becoming the 47th president was about more than just a political campaign. It was about creating a movement that tapped into a unique kind of loyalty, passion, and frustration with the status quo. By staying visible, controlling his narrative, and capitalizing on a changing political landscape, he proved that his influence wasn't fading. It was stronger than ever. This wasn't just a win for Trump. It was vindication for his supporters and a testament to his ability to overcome the odds, no matter how stacked they might have seemed. In American history, political comebacks are rare, but they do happen. However, a comeback on this scale, against these odds, is something that will be talked about for generations. Donald Trump's return to the White House may well go down as one of the most unprecedented and powerful political returns we've ever seen, changing the course of U.S. politics for years to come.